everybody, Aaron from Beansprout here. I'm making a little video today to talk about the tuning pegs on my Kingdom Era ukulele project instruments. So the original instruments made in the 1880s and 90s used wooden pegs for the tuning machines or tuners. And wooden pegs have worked great for millions of violinists over the years. So why can't ukulele people use them too? Well, that's true. It's just I found that amongst the ukulele crowd, most folks aren't willing to do the learning curve it takes to use these every day. So I don't want to put these standard on my Kingdom Era instruments. I want, if somebody wants wooden pegs, I'm happy to make a set. But you know, it has to be somebody who really wants the historic setup. So on my normal instruments I use a peg from Goto that's brass and plastic, and it's got a 4-to-1 gear in it. And the gear ratio is really what makes a peg more usable for a modern person. 4-to-1 is just fine. It means it takes 4 turns with your hand to get 1 full turn up here, and that means that it's a really precise and easy to use situation. But these are a little heavy for this instrument, and I like the look of the traditional peg. So I'm choosing to use Peghead brand tuners. These are made in America. They're a combination of aluminum, plastic, and wood, depending on which ones you get. And they have a gear inside. So even though they look like a wooden peg, they actually have a gear inside. Yeah, they're made in the States. I've used these a lot over the years. They have a very traditional look, but they get a bad rap because folks don't know how to use them and that they're adjustable. So we're going to talk about that for a second. It looks like Chuck, who designs and builds peg heads, he's going to retire, but I believe I've got enough to last the rest of my life. So at least for the time being, we're good to go on that. So on this instrument, I've got peg head tuners. You know, they have the look of a violin peg, but like I said, they're geared. Now, here's a thing that customers don't usually understand. The tension of the peg, whether it's easy or hard to turn, whether it slips or sticks, it's adjustable on these instruments, or on these peg heads. And that's because the button is a different piece than the housing. So, for instance, on this one, if I were to take my hand and push the button farther in, it's now really hard to turn the peg, but they're not going to slip. So for some people, they might want it that way. And then if I pull out on the button, wiggle as I pull out, don't want to take the whole thing out, but if I back it out, it's now easier to turn. Maybe it would slip, but it feels about right to me. So, you know, I set them when I install them where I think it feels good, but you can set them tighter or looser yourself by pushing and pulling. And then they stay. And they're light and they look good. So another defense here. Do you see how the back of the headstock is rounded? The originals were like that, and that's a detail that I forgot about for a while. And I was having trouble making the back of this look right, and then I remembered that they're curved. So when they're curved, it's hard to put a peg in like this that needs a flat surface to bear against. But these kind of tuners work great in there. Now, to install peg heads, you have to have a tapered reamer. You have to, there's just like a lot of fine work that has to be done to put them in, but I think it's worth it and it looks traditional. So anyway, these pegs are standard, and I'll make wooden pegs for somebody if they're really into it. That's it. Cheers.